it's all about the levels you allow it to. It's because most countries work by quotas each year. They have a certain amount of each category of immigrants are allowed to take in. And I think it's slightly different in the EU. But if you were to look at the US or something, they have people from Mexico and Canada, and then they have just others. And you're required, and to enter, you have to have a certain amount of qualifications. You have to have a certain ability to work. And I think that's why free immigration falls down, because you get lots of people, as you said, who have no ability to work and no will to do so, and they're just they're coming in and they're effectively sponging. And you think, I know it sounds harsh, but you know, we don't want people that just come in and contribute nothing.
Exactly. You're still looking at free immigration in terms of barriers and boundaries. You're talking about this free immigration, but then if, let's say, everyone floods to London and then no one can get a job, why don't you move to somewhere else where there's obviously higher terms of like employment, more chance?
There are some places that are more favourable than others to go, because it's if everyone moved to the economic.
No, you're still looking at it as if people come, you have to stay. You have an opportunity.
Yeah, you are talking about very different ideas.
What I think is interesting is that free immigration, what it would do is it would create, if you had completely free immigration, you'd have a far more equal distribution of wealth.
Well, yeah,
and wealth would dissipate. The problem, of course, is if you're living in the United Kingdom or the US, your living standards would drop substantially because everyone else is going up.
It's okay. We're basically all in agreement that the system of free immigration, permanent stay free immigration, is impractical. So we can move on from that. And I talked about wage premium of skilled workers, and I talked about the fact that £40,000 may not be a huge sum. So I'd like to use cross-section analysis to explain this point. So let's look at what nationality can I pick? Okay, an Indian engineer. An Indian engineer. Okay, an Indian engineer moving to the UK. There's no nationality I could pick where there's no one affected, so I have to pick. Huh? I'm saying there is no nationality I could have picked when no one is affected.
North Korea?
Huh?
North Korea.
Okay. There's a North Korean train.
No, I'm not North Korean.
What are you? South Korean. Carry on. So, an Indian trained engineer in India moving to the UK. What can they think about their long-term prospects? Think about what they will earn once they get to the UK and the trend of their wages as they stay in the UK. And think about the £40,000 sum. Let's say that the wage an Indian engineer is expected to earn if they stayed in India. Let's say it's half of their wage if it's half of a UK wage. Think about the wage premium. Think about how much extra they would earn living in the UK, and think of how little the £40,000 fee becomes. Yes, please.
Living costs are higher in the UK though, so therefore it won't be as proportional as you make it sound.
Living costs are higher, but not enough to offset the wage premium. I do not think living costs are high enough to offset the wage premium. Huh?
I think it could probably.
No, there's no. It'd have to be like 5-6 times higher.
No,
even more. Sorry, even more.
Twice as high.
Huh?
Yeah. Surely it only have to be
No, but we're talking about not just the wage premium as soon as you get in, but the wage premium over your lifetime.
Okay.
Yes.
They might not just move just because they're going to expect a higher wage. Maybe they move like because of social problems that exist, or maybe like say if you have young children, you want to move to the UK because of better education or something. So it's not mainly because of the.
I see what you're saying. So the £40,000 fee perhaps could ignore humanitarian immigration, people moving because to better their life. But okay, yeah, that's why it's called as an economic assessment. There are issues of ethics, there are a few issues of social mobility that are ignored by this assessment. I see what you're saying. Humanitarian immigration could be ignored by a £40,000 fee.
I think it's worth pointing out here about what you said about asylum seekers or refugees, effectively.
What did I say about them?
I thought you said they were going to be excluded.
Yeah, okay, yeah, asylum seekers, asylum seekers, refugees. I think they're a separate. We're not dealing with them. We're not saying asylum seekers should pay £40,000 to come to the UK. That'd be crazy. We're not saying that. So asylum seekers, refugees, those are a completely different group.
So how many more people would you have claiming asylum when really it's not justified? People coming in illegally and things like that to avoid the £40,000.
Okay, let's talk about illegal immigration. So you're saying that a £40,000 fee is introduced, the amount of illegal immigrants could potentially increase.
Yeah.
So you're saying, do you all agree with that? This was my first reaction to it. But but you'd have to have complementary policy that makes the life of illegal immigrants significantly more worse than the life of a UK immigrant. Do you agree with that? To make sure that illegal immigration does not increase, you'd have to make the life of an illegal immigrant far worse than the life of a UK citizen. And even if you didn't, think of the incentives, think of the quality of life illegal immigrants have in the UK. Think of the job opportunities they have. Their job opportunities are limited to the black market and limited to the undercover economy. Think about the incentive to pay the fee and become a legal immigrant. Think of the life premium. Think of the quality of life premium. Think of the extra quality of life they could earn from paying the fee and moving from their status from an illegal immigrant to a legal immigrant. Do you think that would be enough to offset any rise you think would happen with illegal immigration?
But you get illegal immigration at the moment when they don't have to pay the fee. So what's to stop it from happening? How could you worsen their standard of living? The point is they're undetected, so how can you then
Well, isn't the point that currently there's no way to go from being a legal immigrant to a legal immigrant?
Yeah, there's no way.
Whereas in this system, you're giving them a way to do it.
That's what I personally think as well. There's no way to become a legal immigrant to a legal immigrant, and illegal immigrants, they're not skilled. Well, they are skilled, but they're not the same people this system would attract. So it's hard to analyse. But
can you come back to 1:10
yeah,
thank you.
I'll try. I won't. So illegal immigrants, that's a completely different situation. But I personally, so you all noted yes, illegal immigration would increase. Has what I said swayed you to think, okay, maybe it couldn't? Maybe you could possibly stay the same or decrease?
It would
yes
have to be really bad living conditions.
It'd have to
be 40 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this just targeting the most vulnerable in society? Basically, just by trying to push them out. And surely there are some moral implications with this idea that these illegal immigrants are not people trying to con the system. They're vulnerable individuals. Okay, or many of them are vulnerable individuals, and we decide that the way to do it is going to go and try and make it as punitive as possible.
I don't understand how you would. I mean, if we aren't even aware of these people, and we are not aware of them, we certainly can't control them.
Well, I think what he's suggesting is bringing in controls for everyone else.
Yeah.
Things like ID cards.
No. I didn't say. I've not touched on that. I've left that alone. How do we make the life of an illegal immigrant worse? The easy way would potentially be ID cards, things like that. But I haven't suggested that here. Because I don't. That's another discussion. Sam.
Surely you won't be able to know what to do with them because you're not aware of where they are and how to find them. So I don't think that's going to be really.
But I think just because right now we can't control them doesn't mean that if in the future
£40,000 to go towards perhaps
exactly
it can be reciprocated.
Exactly. So over time,
it's worth considering the costs of this system,
could possibly offset the contribution of £40,000.
Although, of course, we do have costs currently and no income for it. So.
Exactly. So yeah, exactly. Yes.
Do you not think it would increase the disparity in living standards in the UK for those people in the UK who, if they were to go abroad, couldn't afford a £40,000 thing? The jobs would be taken by. Jobs that they could have had would be taken by immigrants coming in.
Wait, explain that again. So
no, don't worry.
No. Because you remind me of something. Because I want to talk about why £40,000, and there are two ways to think about this. Why 40? What would be? Okay, let's say that it wouldn't be £40,000. What price do we charge to ensure that we have skilled immigrants? There's one model where it's only the UK charging that. So we all learn about price elasticity of demand. So the price determination the issue of price determination, so the price that we charge would depend on how we perceive immigrants to view life in the UK. Is life in the UK significantly, is it an attractive good? Is it a good that, is it a branded good? Is it a good that, so you're saying, are you nodding? So yes.
Yeah.
That's what I think as well. I think that a professional career in the UK, there is no substitute for a professional career in the UK. Thoughts?
What I think we should do, and my personal view on this is that we should let the market decide to do what we're going to do. and I feel that.
I don't think that.
I feel
So,
like
and what sort of systems? What sort of system?
my system, the system I think of involves a simple scaling price, so you get a perfect supply curve. Basically, you say that at £10,000 we've got 200 places. £20,000 we've got 100.
No, I think in the long run,
and then you get the demand, and you either involve companies in it, or you just see how much.
I don't like that idea, but I think in the long run the market would decide a price, because if we charge a price, which meant that the amount of skilled immigrants in the UK was significantly decreasing year on year, we'd obviously have to change the price. And if we charge a price that was too low, we went, well, charging a price that was too low. A black market.
Well, this is interesting. The point here is that if the price is too low and we get flooded with people, this is the problem. We've got no real control over it. We've got to have some sort of. You have to have some sort of quota on the supply.
Okay.
You can't just guess where the number is.
Okay, yeah. What you're.
I mean, we've already established that immigrants are a vital part of our economy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one risk we could run with charging people such a fee for entry is that, say, if you had your Indian engineer, and he said, well, I can either pay £40,000 to go to the UK, or I can get into the US or something for free. And he said, because he's a skilled, he's got a degree, he could easily make a life for himself.
Okay.
They would send him straight through the green card office, and he could get straight in.
Yeah, there are extremes, but not every skilled engineer in India can get into the US. Not every.
Any other.
Okay, not every other skilled technician, not every skilled banker, not every skilled. America and other market economies, other developed economies, their immigration systems, they don't allow. So I think that once we get a system, if UK wasn't the only nation pricing, then the issue of price determination would get complicated, because how do we make sure that we price? Do we price lower than the US? Do we price lower than France? How do we make sure that we're not losing out on skilled immigrants?
Well, that's where you must let the market decide it. Well, that's the market is the only viable way.
The markets would. That's what I'm saying. On the short run, you can't let the market decide it, but in the long run, the markets would decide it, because you can't. You have to respond to.
Politicians would decide it in response to the market.
Okay, initially. Well, okay, yeah.
Even on the longest term.
Okay, yeah. Let's freeze that point, because that's my.
But charging these immigrants to come into our country then gives them so all of the powers that current workers in our country have over wages and things like that. So if they're being charged to come here, they're going to expect higher wages. So this could cause inflation, and it could ultimately lead to firms just outsourcing the jobs to their country, where they can do it over the internet without a problem, and they can avoid this £40,000 cost, and they can be just as skilled in their area and still earn the same amount of money without having to pay the 40 grand.
Okay, first I just want to deal with the initial first assumption in that point. You're saying that just because they expect higher wages, so does that mean when they come to the UK they will not work at all? Because they won't go to the jobs they have. I don't think that will be a problem. I think that once you get to the UK, initially, you will not be in a position to be to search.
No, not initially, but then in the longer run you would have the
I see, but it's. I don't think that. I think initially immigrants would not have the power, would not have the let's say confidence. Let's use rude terms. Confidence to turn down wage offers because they expect.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if they got a job, they could get into unions, things like that.
Okay,
then they have the power over.
But they'd have the same powers just as our current unions have.
Yeah, but our current unions don't have a reason to change it if they're not being charged £40,000 to come here. So they don't have a reason to charge more.
No, but I think that all unions want higher wages. All unions would. I don't think there's any difference between the unions of the new immigrants, and the unions that we have now.
But without a reason to charge higher prices, they can't really go on strike because it wouldn't be justified and nothing would get done.
They do.
But
yeah, I think that
nothing would come of it.
I just want to end that by saying that I don't think that any trade union that comes from the new immigrants would be significantly different to the trade unions we have now, because they all push for higher prices, better conditions. Why will their voice be louder than the current trade unions we have now? It will be the same pressures and the same way firms deal with those pressures. That's what I personally believe. But I do see your point that perhaps because they paid a fee, they feel entitled to higher wages. But they've paid a fee because because of the wages that we have at the moment. They're not paying a fee because basically once we get there we'll earn even more.
What I'm saying is they're enticed here by the higher wages, but then realise because of the £40,000 they're not earning as much as they think they would. And there's things like living costs and stuff. So they actually aren't earning as much extra as they expect to. That's why they might charge more.
Another reaction to that could be they'll be more motivated to work harder because they know that they have to pay the £40,000. You will get motivated, ambitious, economically active immigrants under this system. That's what I think anyway. So I just want to, the final big point I want to make is that how do you make this proposal politically attractive? How do you make this, because if it's ever going to penetrate intellectual discourse into political discourse, how are you going to make this a politically attractive proposal? Number one, I think personally, think of, so I mentioned the figure first of all of 250,000 people coming to the UK. So if each of them were paying £40,000, over 4 years, that's 40 billion. 40 billion. Over 4 years, that's 40 billion. Let's say our deficit was 1 trillion. That is 5%. Oh God. That is 5% of. That's a lot of quick maths. I hope that's right. That's 5% of our deficit each 4 years. So if £40,000, 250,000 immigrants, 1 million over the 4 years, that is 40 billion. That's 4% of our deficit every 4 years. So think about the contribution to government revenue this proposal could potentially have. Thoughts on that? Do you think that's enough to make this proposal politically attractive?
But haven't we already said that it might restrict immigration, so you can't expect to have the same numbers of immigrants across the country? Okay, that's the first. Okay, that is the first assumption of the question, that immigration stays the same. But what do you think about? Is the contribution to government revenue enough to make this politically attractive?
Well, the government knows how it could go and make money. The only question is whether this would be the least politically damaging way of doing it. And I think some people would argue, yes, because you're taxing immigrants, you're taxing people who aren't yet politically involved, you've got a good chance that you can disassociate it with your party when they come in. You see, so I think from that point of view, yes, it would be. It wouldn't be the only way, obviously, because they could set a 90% tax on all income if they so chose. But I think it would have the desired effect of raising money, and I think it would appeal politically to those in power. I don't think it would appeal to many on the left of politics.
Okay, actually, you won't know Professor Gary S. Becker. He's a Nobel Prize-winning economist, and he is the international intellectual voice of the left wing, and he is one of the biggest economists supporting this argument. So this is an argument from the left, essentially. So I see what you're saying, that the left potentially won't support this, but this is an argument that has originated from the left.
Well, it's got one person who's supporting the left, who you say is a spokesman of everyone on the left, but don't speak as one. You can have.
I know, but I'm saying that in intellectual circles, Professor Becker is, in economic circles, anyway.
Has been associated.
No, he is the left. And, okay, another potential factor that could make this politically attractive. Think of the current arguments against immigration, of their sponging of the welfare state, of their living off benefits. But if each immigrant is making a £40,000 contribution, and think about it, I talked about who will be attracted to £40,000 UK. These immigrants would not depend on the welfare state. So number one, you're saving money that you would have been spending on immigrants that would come here that sponge off the welfare state. And you're having new immigrants who could potentially earn taxable income in the future. So that's a powerful point. So to end, I just want to talk about a criticism that came, I don't know who said it, but someone mentioned nurses, school teachers, and artists actually. What about artists? Because artists don't earn enough to come to the UK and benefit from the system. Artists don't earn enough. But my answer to that, Jed.
Well, I was just thinking that art, you don't have to be in a particular country. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You can sell your work worldwide anyway. It doesn't really make an effect.
Yeah. Sure. But yes.
I was going to say, by doing this, wouldn't some ethnicities be dramatically overrepresented in the immigration if they could afford it?
That's true. That's true, but is that a problem? I know it is. Well, it is a problem, but is it significant enough to be detrimental to the benefits of this
policy?
What
I think we would see is no one from, say, America or Canada would come over. If they can get equally good living standards.
Probably not.
Very
few. Yeah, even right now, American Canada doesn't comprise of a huge.
Some.
All Also, could this not cause tension between immigrants who be coming in under the new idea of charging them, and then immigrants who are already here who didn't have to pay?
Yeah.
So there'd be a lot of tension between people who they feel didn't deserve to be there because they haven't paid to be there, and whereas they've had to pay.
There would be.
Perhaps a little bit like the tuition fees.
Yeah, I was going to say we have a lot of policies have that sort of a dimension to it, where people lose out. People that as soon as a policy is enacted, the people that follow that lose out in a way. So I think that is an issue, but it's not. I don't think it's significant because we get that with so many policies.
You get that transition period, and so the next one are always going to feel like they got a worse deal of it. But I mean, in a very short period of time, all the people that will come here without paying will be gone.
Yeah.
Through death or otherwise.
I'm
not saying I'm going to do it. I'm just saying they will naturally die. You'll in very short time you'll have everyone's work.
So how?
And just quickly, the idea of nurses and teachers. I think that a solution to that would be that they have a longer time span to pay back the £40,000. So I just want to end on you. I hope you understand why this idea is exciting and it is a potentially feasible idea. Any other thoughts on the idea before I end, basically? Any more thoughts? Any more criticisms? I think most of you will just have said it throughout the lecture. Yes.
Well, I was thinking, just looking to the future with obviously global warming and things. You're going to get a lot of immigrants from desertified regions where and places where the food belt's going to shift northwards. They're going to move with it, but this is obviously long term.
Yeah.
So, if you had to bring this in, it doesn't really have to be done now. It could be in the future or so to try and isolate Britain a little more.
I think even if you think of the time span of the transmission of ideas to political policy, this will take decades. Ideas like this will not penetrate systems quickly. This will take. Your 11s are laughing. Penetrate. This will take a long time. This will take a long time. This will take a long time. But I personally think it's a very exciting idea, and it has a lot of legs. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening.